For this experiment, you'll need a few pieces of aluminum foil, a plastic knife, crayons without the paper on them, and some type of container with water in it that can be heated in the microwave. Hi junior scientists, today we're going to take a look at the rock cycle. We're actually going to use crayons to model the rock cycle. We're going to start with some new crayons, and we're going to pretend that those are igneous rocks. We're going to take our igneous rocks, our crayons, and we're going to cause erosion to happen to them so that we can get sediment. My little pieces of crayon here are representing the sediment from our igneous rock. This occurs in nature when things like weather, wind, erosion happen to igneous rocks. We're going to keep eroding our crayon until we have a whole pile of sediment that we can compact to turn into a sedimentary rock. Here is our pile of sediment. I usually say it takes about the size of an Oreo cookie to make a sedimentary rock that's a good size. When I take my sediment and I compact it, it's going to become smaller. So I want to make sure this is still a decent sized rock for our experiment. I'm going to take my sediment all in the middle of my aluminum foil, and then I'm going to take my foil and form almost like a little bag that my sediment can sit down in for me to compact it. I want to make sure that I don't get any aluminum foil in the middle of my sediment, because when I do, pulling that aluminum foil off will make my sedimentary rock fall apart. So I'm going to make my bag. I'm going to leave the top open up here so that it's easy to pull back apart and get my rock out. Right now I'm using my hands to squeeze or compact my rock. I'm using the heat from my hands to also help my sediment stay together. Once I squeeze it into a shape and start to get it compacted together, I want to make sure that I don't squeeze it into a new shape, squeezing my sedimentary rock so that it falls apart. Sedimentary rocks can be very fragile, especially when they're made of crayons. So over here I have a sedimentary rock that I've already compacted and I've pulled out. And I pulled that out by opening the top of my foil very carefully so that my rock is not squished in the middle. And if I open it and I see more sediment in there that's not been compacted, then I just want to squeeze it back together and try again. It might take a couple times of compacting for you to get a good sedimentary rock. So with my sedimentary rock here, this is my sediment, my crayon filings that have been compacted together. That's going to make my sedimentary rock. And what I want to do next is apply heat and pressure. And let's take a look at our rock cycle diagram for that. So this was our full new crayon. We eroded it. That gave us sediment. That was my crayon filings. We compacted it, which gave us our sedimentary rock. Notice the word sediment is part of sedimentary, so that will help you remember that part of the rock cycle. Next, what I'm going to do is apply heat and pressure, which is going to give me a metamorphic rock. Let's see what that looks like. So in order to apply heat and pressure, I want to make a boat for my rock to float in. The way that you make a boat is you take a piece of aluminum foil. You're going to scrunch up the sides. We want to make sure that we have a little lip on our boat so that it doesn't sink. We don't want our boat to capsize when we put our sedimentary rock inside of it to heat it. Okay? So once I have my boat sculpted, I'm going to sit it in the top of my bowl of hot water. And this water was heated in the microwave for 4 minutes so that it's warm enough to melt the outside surface of our rock. Now, to make a metamorphic rock, we don't want it to melt completely. If we melt our wax completely, then that's going to give us magma. That's not the point in the rock cycle that we're at. So we're taking our sedimentary rock, we're sitting it on our foil boat, and the heat from the hot water is going to heat the foil, and it's going to heat the outside of our sedimentary rock. You can already see some of that wax that's melting on the outside of our rock. You can turn it on different sides, that way it'll heat all the way around your sedimentary rock. Of course, here you can still see the sediment, the speckled areas, the sediment that's still apart, and you can turn it over on that sediment to heat it up. Here are some other sedimentary rocks that we heated the outside of to make our metamorphic rocks. And now you can see our metamorphic rock melting to become our pretend magma. We can see the magma underneath the rock heated first. At this point, our metamorphic rock has melted till it's almost completely magma. That is liquid crayon wax that for our pretend rock cycle is magma. This is similar to what would come out of a volcano, a pretend volcano. And we are now going to cool it so that it will form into an igneous rock again. Magma inside coming out of a volcano is liquid rock, and it is at about 1200 degrees Celsius when it comes out of a volcano. So this is going to become an igneous rock when we cool it. We are either going to sit it out and wait for a while as it cools at room temperature, or just to speed up the process, we can place it in the refrigerator and it will cool faster. So to come back to our rock cycle, our igneous rock was our crayon that we originally started with. We caused erosion, which made our crayon shavings, which is our sediment. Our sediment we then compacted into a sedimentary rock. Our sedimentary rock, we applied heat and pressure, causing it to become a metamorphic rock. And then we exposed it to even more heat so that it became melted, which represented our magma in the rock cycle. And now we're cooling it to bring it back to an igneous state again. So we've made a full circle around our rock cycle. If you notice, the igneous rock doesn't have to go through erosion first. It could go through heat and pressure or melting. As for the sedimentary rock and the metamorphic rock. So this was just one example of different ways to move around the rock cycle using crayons to model our rock cycle. And now we have our igneous rock cooled, and we're going to remove it from our aluminum foil bowl that we used to heat it in. We're pulling apart the aluminum foil, and you can even break off some excess pieces to make your rock a little better shape. You can turn it over to see the rock on this side so that it might look a little more like a rock. And here we have two igneous rocks. We have our metamorphic rock, and we have our sedimentary rock. And that is modeling the rock cycle using crayons. Thanks so much.